Welcome back to the channel. I'm out here this morning early. Don't have to be at work till 3 again today, so it's not too hot. Got a cool breeze blowing so far, and I'm in the shade. This is going to be part 1 of me making the 68 Hemi hood scoop. I'm going to start with the pickup, and then finish up on another separate series of videos for the Dart. But I'm just out here working with the basics. Don't have any special bending equipment, so I got to kind of improvise, overcome, and adapt sort of thing. Let me show you what I've been working on. Okay, so the photo that I found online says the front of the hood scoop needs to be, what was it? Let's see here. The front, I'll just use this. I've already got it in Sharpie marker from here over to this next line is 35, and then the front side of the sheet metal of the scoop is 5.5. Then you come back here, and it's going to be 3.5 here. This is the back corner, and then across here is going to be 20. I'm off by, oh gosh, I was looking at it. It's supposed to be 26 according to the photo, so I'm off by on my geometry by, I think maybe 7/16 of a gap over here on this side and this side. So it's actually a little wider. Let's see here. Come on, tape measure, quit acting up. It's actually 26.5, so I'm not going to be obsessed with the exact measurements as far as this back corner, this back side. It still looks good. And then what you want to do is, like I said, 3.5 inches straight back, and because when you bring the sheet metal on the side like this, you bend it in, then you're going to bend this part down. I'll see how it looks. If it looks too square on the back side, I'll probably cut out an angle and weld in a rounded, kind of semi-rounded piece of a triangular piece of sheet metal in there, and then make sure this corner's not like pointy. Round out the corners. Same thing with up here. Make sure the corners. What you can do is put this, flip whatever part you flip down. You flip the hood scoop over, and you take a piece of steel tubing, and you lay it along that seam inside, and then you tap it with like a 3-pound hammer, and you work your way down the inside, so then this edge here on the outside becomes curved. It helps if you use a little propane torch, but to loosen up the metal a little bit, get it warm and pliable. And then I watched the guy in the video on YouTube. After I made my measurement and found the center of the hood scoop, What he did was he laid it on a flat, hard surface with 2 long sections of this square tubing welded together. He laid the hood on there, and then you took a piece of rod and basically did this, laid it along the seam, tack welded it, or spot welded it down, and then he came in over the top once he had everything else battened down, and this battened down. Came in with 2 pieces of rebar or steel rod like this. Steel rod would be better. He welded the ends, the spot welded the ends, the tips together, and then every so often he welded a spot down the length. And then what he did was he brought it in, laid it over the top of the hood scoop, and then took a 3-pound hammer and keeping it in position. I think he had more clamps. He worked his way across, smacking it with a 3-pound hammer, and it ended up putting a when you flip it over, it'll have a ridge just like the on the hood here when you're done. It adds strength, and then it also goes along with the contours and the lines of the hood. But anyway, I got to finish cutting some of this off. I got some more sanding to do with the DA. I think I'm using like 80 or 60 grit to get a lot of this rough stuff off. The next time I make the hood scoop for the Dart, I'm going to use some fresh sheet metal. I'll go to the metal supply place and find another. I'll take a sample of this to find out what gauge this is, and start with some fresh sheet metal. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, since it's shaded over here, I'm going to use a combination of clamps and this bed. Since this bed, the lip of this bed is reinforced, and then it's got plastic, I'm going to actually bend the sheet metal over this. I got, like I said, clamps and all that stuff to keep it secure, to put the bends in there. But and then once I get done with all that, and I get the hood, I think I'm going to go to Buddy's Auto Salvage and look for another D150 hood. And so I have 2 scoops. I have a stock one when I want to put that one on for maybe like during the winter time, and then put this one on for the summertime. So it allows a lot of air to blow down in through, because the cab of the truck has been getting pretty hot on these really hot days, even though I got the vent windows and everything, and I even got the heater hoses removed from the heater core on the wall, firewall, and I got the a small section of tube connecting the 2 outlets on the pump, so it just recirculates. And I've got a 180 thermostat or 195 thermostat in the truck. I could probably go a little bit lower, but with the air brushing in over the engine and blowing it down out of the deal, that should help keep the cab pretty cool the rest of the summer. Then what I'm going to do is, I watched how they did it. They took measurements after they cut the hole in the hood, and they took regular rod like this, and they pre-drilled the holes after measuring them in the hood, and then pre-drilling the holes in the front of the hood scoop for what they call the jail bars for these Hemi hood scoops. And all they did was go ahead and measure out the sections of rod. They cut it, and then what they did is they fed the rod up through the hole of the hood, and then once they got just barely above the hole that they cut out in the hood scoop, they welded the seam all the way up, and then they went ahead and once they got those all done, and they keep checking the specs on the gap between the hood and hood scoop, They went ahead and welded the bottom half to the actual hood itself, and they just left the rod like that. But I found, or I bought my metal rod, I found this aluminum tubing, which is just a hair wider than the outer diameter of the steel tube. And just to make sure it doesn't rattle around, I'll put some type of wrap around that rod, like maybe some electrical tape, a thin layer of it, so it doesn't rattle. But it's going to have pressure pushed down on this just as long as I make the proper measurements. And so these rods will be sections of rods, so aluminum rod will be polished. And I'll do that to the dart as well once I get to that point. But anyway, when I come back, I'll finish having the sheet metal cut off for this scoop, and try to put a ridge in this. I've got some other tricks I can try to use to see if I can fix that without having to buy a bunch of square tubing or rods and all that stuff around here. But anyway, come back, we'll have this more completed. Okay, so I'm back here. Here's the finished product as far as prepping the sheet metal goes. I've been using the 5-inch orbital DA 60 grit to come here along these edges after I use the cutoff wheel and go along the sharp edge and knock the shavings off. And I went over all this. Now keep in mind, this hood is going to be for my daily driver, so I'm not going to be obsessed with every little imperfection on this. I am going to treat it with a rust converter once it gets done and cleaned up to kill any rust, and then I'm going to go over that with some self-etching primer and then some automotive, of course all rust-only products, automotive sealed primer. And what I'm going to do is, since the inside of the cab and the truck was originally kind of a dark, I wouldn't say gunmetal, metal flake silver gray, kind of a pewter metal flake, I guess you could say. It's not too light, not too dark. The whole inside of the hood scoop is going to get painted that color, while the outside of the hood scoop is going to match the hood. It's going to be satin black. I think that'll make it look real nice and make it stand out. And it'll be dark enough to where the jail bars here will show up. They won't blend in and look like they're invisible on there. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, once I get the hood scoop bent in the shape, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, the guys on the video just went ahead and started spot welding the corners and spot welding the middle, like a middle section about 2 to 3 inches wide, and then they came up here and did corner and came down about 3 inches and welded it to the hood. I've got that option, or once this has all been bent into shape and I've got everything else, the seams all welded up in the corners and whatnot, I also have the option, if I want to, start here and go over 1 inch and make a sheet metal lip that curves all the way around and goes in there where I can bolt it down to the hood using small, like 1/4 inch or 5/16 carriage bolts. And what I'll do is I'll grind some of the the head down flat and then polish them up and do that. It just depends. When I get to that point, I'll decide on what I want to do, because once the hood's welded in place, or the hood scoop I should say, and the bars, it's not going to go anywhere. And I'll make sure there's a couple of welds on the inside too for added strength, so just in case it does start to want to vibrate or whatever, the welds will be good quality, won't be crappy. They won't be bird shit splatter welds. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, since I have what's left of this long section of square tubing, I will be using that along with clamps to help bend the seams. And I'm going to come back. Well, actually, I think it's going to be done with this video. When I do the next video, I'll be doing the bends, because we're already at 16 minutes on this video, and I don't really want to go that much further. So until next time, like I said, this is part 1. Part 2 will be me bending it and maybe welding it, and then we'll go from there. Until next time.